I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, February 26th. News from Arkansas. You know, I said yesterday was a rare good day. Well, back to business as usual at the Arkansas legislature today. One piece of most of the action was in committee meetings, so it's not final action, but committees often tell the tale of how legislation is going to turn out. This morning in the House Education Committee, they passed a bill that would essentially do away with the old school consolidation standard of consolidating any school districts that fall below 350 students. Small rural areas can make a huge noise about their schools, and all the arguments are familiar. The small schools do well, and they want to preserve local communities and that sort of thing. You can now get a waiver if this bill passes to preserve your school district if it's smaller than 350 students, as long as it's not in academic or physical distress. So that's one big change over something that was really hard won at the time, years and years in a bipartisan effort. Finally, Mike Huckabee was on the side of school consolidation. That's changed. Another big win in committee this morning for guns. Charlie Collins won committee approval with some help from Democrats for his bill that would allow staff members at public colleges and universities to carry concealed weapons onto campus. The amendment offered to save face for Democrats says that colleges can opt to require people who carry guns on campus to take an active shooter course. That is, not merely have a concealed carry permit, but go through training to know how you react as law enforcement officers do when shooting actually breaks out. And they also will have to register, have the opportunity at least, to register those who are carrying guns on campus. But it's not required, and Collins doesn't want it to be required. This was done in part by Democrats who opposed this bill earlier, in return for some support from some legislation they favor. There's some hope the legislation can be stopped in the Senate, but if the Republicans want to pull rank, they have the votes to get a bill out of committee, even from the Senate Judiciary Committee, where this bill will go and where there is a majority of Democrats who could stop that train at that point. Interesting legislation filed today by a legislator from South Arkansas who would make it a rebuttable presumption that a judge should disqualify from a case if they've gotten a substantial campaign contribution from a party in the case in the year before hearing the case. Not a bad idea. It's something a judge shouldn't have to be made to do, in fact, but perhaps we do need the law. I've commented on the Arkansas blog that I'm skeptical about efforts to legislate higher ethics. Our past efforts haven't been too good. We passed a constitutional amendment last year that supposedly stopped free drinks and eats for legislators. Well, every day you can see on our blog all the places they can line up to get free drinks and eats. They figured a way around that. They figured a way around the state Supreme Court ruling that local pork barrel projects were unconstitutional legislation. Just today, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette reported that the North Little Rock legislator had figured out a way to use the government surplus money to buy some warm-up suits for the football team over there. Last year, I reported that Jeremy Hutchinson figured out a way to use state surplus to put on a fireworks show in Saline County. Water will find an outlet. The legislature will find a way to get around ethics laws. Those are just the facts. Speaking of money, the state Supreme Court today upheld Tim Fox's ruling that a lawsuit over deceptive advertising for Marlboro Light cigarettes, suggesting that somehow they were healthier than regular cigarettes, could go forward as a class action. A lot of trial yet to come on this, but this could be one of the biggest lawsuit judgments in years in Arkansas if it does go to trial and turns out as many expect it to do. I've reported today that Senator John Woods has filed a proposed constitutional amendment. It's intended to get around the lawsuit finding that cities like Little Rock and North Little Rock have been illegally giving chambers of commerce money in the form of financial subsidies from taxpayers. They're going to have an amendment that will legalize this practice. In the meanwhile, Little Rock and North Little Rock will be held back from that for at least a couple of years. Carmen McBride, who's a teacher at Roberts Elementary School in West Little Rock, is this year's Arkansas Milk and Educator. She's apparently a whiz in the classroom and with science and other types of education. Congratulations to her. And finally, if you want some good reading, pick up this week's copy of Arkansas Times, and it's already online. Leslie Newell Peacock, who is far and away the single best writer in the state on artistic matters, has written a great story about this ongoing discussion about will the Arkansas Arts Center move from its current location in MacArthur Park to a potential new location on the riverfront in North Little Rock. As I've said before, money, politics, and deeply held, long passions for place all figure into this story, and Leslie's nailed it wonderfully, as she usually does. Take a look. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.